Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk about development concerns, technical debt, and the importance of helping develop Star Citizen with feedback, being able to voice criticism, and a Reddit post that I think is actually worth talking about in quite a lot of detail, titled A CTO Senior Software Dev's Take on Star Citizen by Benny Wop Cumbersnip. What a beautiful name. I'll read you the post and then we'll talk about it in a bit more detail, and I'll put the links down below so you can read the full thing as well, and all the comments that have been there on Reddit. I've been a software developer for over 20 years. I've worked in the trenches fixing bugs, I've built entire systems from the ground up, I've led teams, and I'm currently working as a CTO. In that light, here's my take on the Star Citizen discussion. I've read a lot of arguments between two camps. 1. People that are frustrated with the current gameplay and wish things were more polished. 2. People that think polishing an alpha is worthless and will slow the overall timeline of the game getting to release. There is a bit of truth to both sides, but in reality, the amount of bugs included in releases is discouraging to say the least. Why? I call technical debt the valley where companies go to die. The truth is, code is a living, breathing organism. Also, the way developers write code changes over time. Devs learn more efficient ways to do certain things, new best practices are adopted, there are framework and language updates that solve or create problems. Another important thing to understand is that certain issues with your architecture are literally unavoidable. While each new area of the code is built out, you will see patterns and inevitably need to rebuild or refactor certain things, so you can keep the overall architecture clean and healthy. At least that's the way the pros do it. If this refactoring isn't done, it compounds technical debt and will eventually become unsustainable. One example I've noticed that might highlight this issue is with the Mobiglass. People obviously wanted to be able to change the colour of their Mobiglass display along with buying a different coloured Mobiglass. This isn't going to be possible. I wonder why, especially given the fact that different coloured displays are present between ship manufacturers. The likely truth: this highlights a subtle but meaningful weakness in the architecture of the UI code. I'm going to assume that the Mobi/HUD display color was a static single color originally. When different colors for different manufacturers came along, instead of restructuring the architecture to account for future possible changes, the devs most likely branched directly existing components and modules and added something along the lines of if different ship manufacturer, different color, and tacked this onto the logic that handles rendering the Mobiglass display and its color in different contexts. Seems pretty harmless, but if this type of problem isn't fixed early on, it leads to a situation where the logical structure of modules and components is so convoluted that even the smallest changes introduce massive complex problems that are almost impossible to solve without breaking other things and causing more problems. This type of situation nearly always happens in the lifecycle of a codebase. When it happens, a team has to make a decision: either take the time to rebuild the code and make it more flexible and extensible, or just duct tape on whatever the quickest possible fix is. If and when the wrong decision is made, the overall health of the codebase gets worse and worse. I've personally seen the long-term result of this practice, and it gets bad enough that the only solution is to rebuild from the ground up, which comes with its own issues. My fear is that I can see a lot of examples that highlight this pattern. Bugs and limitations obviously have varying levels of severity, and the color of the Mobiglass display isn't a cancerous, unsolvable problem. However, something like the prison loadout bug, definitely concerning. The issue with that particular bug is that I can't think of a simple or harmless cause of the bug. In one instance, while I was trying to fix this exact bug, I had to remove all my gear and let the guard kill me. When I died, I saw the prison issued mining tool dropped to the ground from my body. The reason I was letting the guard kill me was because any time I died, I would get a black screen that I couldn't get rid of without reloading my game entirely. The terrifying thing about this is that the cause of the bug could be that the contents of a player's loadout might be used to calculate whatever or not they should be in prison. I'm not saying I have conclusive evidence that this is the case, but it shows a possibility that something like the prison feature was duct taped and hacked together so quickly that the logic behind it is really that bad. This ramble leads me to my real argument. If these bugs are an indication of the way the code is built, then they're just the tip of the iceberg. If that's the case, using the excuse that back-end features and core functionality is more important than features for right now doesn't hold water, because if they're compounding technical debt at that level, the back-end architecture probably isn't much better. If the architecture is bad, it's never going to support a solid polished game, no matter how long they take to work on it, how many milestones they miss and push back. No code base is ever going to be anywhere close to perfect. What you're really shooting for is a healthy relationship between positive forward momentum, polished features that are bug-free, code that is flexible enough to allow for new feature development, with relatively little changes to the architecture that only cause minor bugs. Disasters and major slowdowns, areas of the architecture that are so bad you have to completely rebuild them, which mean rebuilding a variety of areas where the code interacts with that architecture. If you have a healthy balance between these two and keep forward momentum, it allows for what's called continual refactor, which means small incremental rebuilds of features, components, modules, and occasionally key architectural pieces. If not, you're basically just trudging towards the inevitable. So the real question is, what's the situation with CIG? It seems to me like there's a lot more red flags than green. The other side of my argument is that Cloud Imperium Games is underutilizing the fanbase they've put together for the persistent universe. Even when the back-end architecture is more fleshed out, it's going to need adjustments and changes to properly integrate new features, mechanics, and content. I'm not saying that they shouldn't focus on back-end architecture, but we should be able to see more progress. We should be able to see less breaking bugs, better performance, etc. While there have been some improvements, they're not happening fast enough to convince me that CIG is moving forward instead of treading water. On the same note, features and gameplay mechanics keep the community interested with the current state of the game. It is difficult for me to bring friends into the game. I brought the game in 2015, was pretty underwhelmed, and took a 5-ish year break. I re-downloaded the game a few months ago and was excited about performance increases and new features, but overall was disappointed in the lack of progress. On top of that, the game is so broken that it's barely playable. If bugs were hotfixed and the overall gameplay experience was more polished and more stable during the current alpha, I could almost guarantee that there would be more players pledging ships, which would mean more money to spend on development, which would mean the dream of the fully realised MMO and Squadron 42 coming true a lot sooner. I've personally hotfixed bugs in systems with a lot more users than currently play in Star Citizen. It was admittedly butthole clenching and didn't always go well, but things like 30k, random crashes, and black screens of death are game-breaking and experience-ruining enough that I think it justifies the indignation and frustration I've seen from people in the community. These issues also shouldn't be monumental to fix. They also definitely shouldn't persist between major quarterly patches, which many of them have. I'm personally in a place where I wouldn't pledge another dime until Cloud Imperium can give me some proof that they're worth my investment. I feel that a large number of the community feels the same. That means CIG are probably spending more than they're bringing in, which ultimately means that things could get a lot worse before they get better, if they ever do. So if Cloud Imperium is neglecting polish in lieu of back-end stability, show me the meat. Show me the payoff of that focus. Give me some proof of the back-end stability is actually improving. If you're going to release new features, polish the ones we have, give us more reason to earn Alpha UEC, release more shiny cosmetics that can be duct-taped on in a stable enough way and that can be quickly rebuilt later, give us more ship customization, realise more variety in the current mission types, hire some college interns to write some engaging gameplay loops and questline stories like in the private investigation Kovalex mission, give us some excuses to explore the current system, leave unmanned hammerheads and capital ships out in deep space with treasure hunting clues on how to find and commandeer them, balance out the money you earn from missions so it's better competitive for trading and or make trading more stable, and even a better idea, make smaller subsystems of the persistent universe so that newer features are tested in isolation. That way servers can be smaller and easier to maintain, and you won't have to worry as much about infrastructure. Put more gameplay loops into existing cities and have server options that only include that one city. Hell, make the titties bigger, put in boob physics, whatever. I could go on, clearly brevity is not my strong suit. All in all, I believe in the Star Citizen Dream and project because it has limitless potential. Pretty much anything I enjoyed doing in other games, I could get an even better experience from Star Citizen. The amount of depth that's possible in this game is staggering. When it does finally release, my wife is probably going to divorce me. All I want is for CIG to give the community more of a nod, make sure we feel acknowledged, appreciated, and important. Polish the current state of the game enough that I can at least consistently enjoy what's currently available, and so I can comfortably be bringing my friends into the game, because I totally have some of those, definitely a non-zero number of real-life human friends. If you're from the camp of people that flame others for being frustrated, spoil your quantum drive and look for the marker that says over yourself. Hopefully you'll have enough quantum fuel for your journey. Jokes aside, being up on a high horse when people are justifiably frustrated doesn't do anything for the community. Developers need to be held accountable, and it's healthy for them to hear honest feedback, especially because the corporate soulless people who are making budgetary decisions need to have an accurate look at the health of the fanbase so they can be kept in check. If we just act like it's all roses, we're asking to be ignored while the game is being developed behind more closed doors. Along with that, I agree that I would rather have long-term stability over current features. However, if that's what the devs are doing, we should be able to see some more payoff from that. There are also a lot of polish elements that should be more than possible while the back-end architecture is improved, and breaking bugs shouldn't last longer than a few weeks. If you're going to expose anything to end users, you have to commit to polishing it to the point that there aren't any dead ends that users can't at least fix somewhat easily. Proof to my point is features like the bartender and actor animated eating and drinking. Nobody cares about watching their character drink water. These immersion features have been given way too much focus, while breaking bugs persist through quarterly patches along with the long-awaited features, and ships are left by the wayside and keep getting pushed back. Now, that was quite a long post, and I'm going into BoredGamer mode again. Hello. But I do agree with actually some of it, at the very least. I've talked many times about problems and conflicts with having a playable alpha and the marketing of major releases. I bet when we see the 3.10 launch trailer, we're going to see some amazing footage, and it's going to pretty much not show any form of bugs. For me, bug hunting and the long-term development and feedback and finding these bugs and the sort of like, it is an alpha, a live project that I'm getting involved with and helping with now, that's a major, major draw to me. I can't vet whether that person actually has the experience in the industry they say they do or not, or if they were just posting a concern post. But some of what they say is at least reasonable, whatever their background. I personally see a lot of different things that he outlined there a bit differently. I do believe the core of the game systems are getting refactored and updated long term rather than just duct taped, as there are large portions of the code and backend services, as far as I'm aware, that are getting that treatment at the moment. They're building the game quite modularly, and there's a huge amount of development going in more to the Squadron 42 side, which has left the persistent universe in a worse state than it should be if they are trying to sell it as a playable alpha currently, though Star Citizen's development cycle is hugely long. It has had feature creep, there have been delays, there's frustrating bugs, some of which that I do feel should have been fixed ages ago. However, a lot of the criticism and bugs would hold a lot more weight if the game was out of alpha and wasn't a unique project. Cloud Imperium in some ways have made a rod for their own back with having to maintain a playable alpha, but that said, it ties directly into their monetization model, and you can't argue that Cloud Imperium is a successful business. A lot of what that user posted was very much their own opinion, and that's fine, but I don't agree with some of it. Like, I'm really interested to see the financials over the last 18 months to 2 years sort of thing, because Star Citizen has made an exorbitant amount of money in that time, $15 million in May, and has also got a huge amount of private investment. I think it is incredibly healthy financially. Also, some of the examples given, I actually think are actually being actioned by Cloud Imperium currently, along with changes to potentially being able to change the colours on your UIs on your mobiGlas and things like that. I mean, we know that they've been working on the UIs with the new systems for UIs as well, but I do believe that a lot of the game is made in a much more modular way for its code base, as I understand it. Though I'm not an expert on game development of any sort, however, do have quite an in-depth understanding of Star Citizen and some privileged information there. I know hundreds of players that have an amazing time playing Star Citizen now as of 3.10. I also know people that are incredibly frustrated by issues and bugs. I also know that some people get hardly any bugs and some people get huge amounts of bugs, but obviously that changes based on the patch and the time, and I find Star Citizen quite playable as a sandbox game now. It's not supposed to be a sandbox game, it's supposed to be an MMO and it's supposed to have a load of features and stuff in it, but it is in alpha, and I suspect for many and many more people it's very, very, very playable as a tourist destination, as a game you check out for a few hours every few months. It is, however, fine to be worried or concerned about elements of the game or the development, and to voice that in a civil manner. Ask if you want to see something and you think it's relevant to see it. I don't think you should have to try to convince people what they should think, but you should be able to give your feedback and voice that in a constructive or helpful manner if possible, and say, I'd be interested in seeing this, or I think that this should be done, or why haven't we seen this? That's fine. I'd love to see an Inside Star Citizen or big community post talking about technical debt, or the evolution of Star Citizen's engine over the last 8 or so years, its trials, successes, its failures, that sort of stuff. I think Star Citizen is going to genuinely be an amazing game. I'm enjoying it even now, but not in the same way I am planning to enjoy it when it's finished. I loved EVE Online, though in recent years my love of EVE has changed. I enjoy it much, much less. I played a lot of WoW for many hundreds or thousands of hours, and lots of other MMOs. I played a load of Diablo 3 and Diablo games. I'm looking forward to doing the same with Star Citizen, probably for tens of thousands of hours. Do I agree with everything that poster said? Of course not. No, it's their point of view and their opinion. But I do like the fact they shared their opinion and concerns, and that was met with many upvotes because it was civil and it was their opinion, and they said as much. I think that Cloud Imperium could address some of those issues publicly. That would be great. I do think that Cloud Imperium should actually give us a lot more information. So this is something that you can argue from both sides of, that Cloud Imperium are one of the most transparent companies when it comes to game development, but also they don't share enough information. Now, I don't think they share enough information, but I also think they're incredibly transparent. They're both. So give us more information, give us more detailed, more accurate roadmaps. It's a unique project. We need as much information and communication and consistent communication from Cloud Imperium constantly, all the time. Chuck it at us. More videos, more general updates to the community, answering more questions and threads. Just to tell us what's going on with everything. I think people don't mind delays. They are interested in the project. Obviously, they're annoyed by delays and stuff like that. Depends how much stuff's delayed by. But people are on board for the project largely, or at least I am. And the more information that I get, the better. I want to be part of that sort of ride. What we currently have only showing the roadmap for 3.11, which is less than 3 months of development, and no Squadron 42 updates, is unacceptable to me. Although the development of Star Citizen is slow, I like what they put out and all of the stuff I've read and how they developed the game. Yes, it's changed over time, but I'm actually quite happy with at least some of the progress. It's very slow. It's probably a bit too slow for me, but I'm still happy with all they're starting to put together. Obviously, I have had those studio tours and things like that, which has given me a slightly different view on some of this stuff, and I do spend a lot of time just looking at the news and what's happening with it. But for me, Squadron 42 and then releasing episode 1 is proof, or not, as it may be, whether Cloud Imperium can make a great game or not. And it should be the first full product they put out, and hopefully that will be done within the next 18 months or so, actually in our hands. I'm hoping on the shorter end of that spectrum. I do think that Star Citizen will be a genuinely great game, and maybe that's because I'm more biased, maybe it's because I have more insight, or maybe it's just because I'm more interested in this type of project, and I'm quite happy to sort of play it now and watch it evolve as an alpha. But that's sort of enough of my rant. Be civil, get involved with the game's development, and give feedback. That's my advice. Some people will agree with you, others not so much, but that's alright. It's better to have those conversations and try and understand other people's points of view, rather than tell them what's right and tell them what's wrong, and how can you think this? No, how can you think this? That's a bad conversation. I'd love to know what you think, though, in a civil manner. How long have you followed Star Citizen? How long have you been playing it? Are you waiting for Squadron 42 or Star Citizen or both? Are you playing Star Citizen currently, or are you waiting for it to be more playable? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For July, we're giving away a Banu Merchantman, the mighty flying trading beast. It is in concept, so if you do win that, you'll have access to the Caterpillar and Banu Defender instead in the shorter term. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my Star Citizen videos released during July 2020. More details down below. What am I shilling for this month, you ask? Well, if you're looking for a VPN, then consider NordVPN. They have significant improvements in speed, security, accessibility, and features compared to free VPNs or even other VPN services, while also being mega cheap. Use the links below for discounts and to support the channel. Also, if you're looking for a gaming PC, instead consider Shadow. It's an alternative cloud-based PC service which allows you to leverage your internet connection to stream a dedicated gaming PC to another device. That means you don't need to maintain your own gaming PC, and you can run it on mobile, laptop, TV, or lesser desktop PC, and there's a variety of hardware options, and they work perfectly well with Star Citizen Alpha 3.10, as I've been testing them over the last few days. Thanks for watching. Please share the video with others if you think they'll like it, and any support or feedback is greatly appreciated. Take care, thanks very much, and I'll see you in the verse.